I actually like doing things alone, and I think that sometimes the concept of being alone is perceived in a very bad way. I love spending time alone by myself, and don't get me wrong, I love spending time with my friends. I love watching movies with them. I love going on trips around Europe with them. I love hanging out and play games until 2 a.m. But sometimes they're busy, I'm busy, life gets in the way, and maybe sometimes I want to do some things that they don't want to do, or vice versa. And in those cases, I end up alone. It took me moving out and the global pandemic to understand and to learn how to appreciate being alone without feeling lonely. So I moved out in September 2019 to go to university. I went from seeing my friends basically at least once a week to see them once a month if we were lucky. And this was before the pandemic. Of course, we weren't in high school anymore. Some of them started working, others, me included, started university, so we didn't have as much free time as we used to, which led to us spending less time together and more time alone. So every time I came back home, I would hope to hang out with them, but again, life gets in the way, and not every single time I was here, I was able to hang out with them. So I went from living alone and feeling lonely in a new city to be alone and feeling lonely at home. And I kind of couldn't shake this feeling of missing out on life, because this went on for, I guess, a couple of months as soon as I started university. So I guess September, October. Luckily, I met two amazing girls in uni, and we started hanging out during the week. Hanging out with them made me feel less lonely and appreciate more the new city that I was living in. Then the pandemic happened. We spent 2 months inside a house. I had not a lot of time to stop and think about what was going on and how I was feeling and process all these feelings and emotions that I was living. But somehow during those 2 months, I learned that being alone and being lonely are two different things. So you can be alone and feel lonely, so you feel lonely because you're alone, but you can also feel lonely when you're surrounded by a lot of people, and you can be alone but be happy about it. And once I realized that, something in the way I was approaching my life switched. And once everything went back to normal in September, I moved back at my place. I was ready to live my life. I craved this life alone. During the summer, I realized that what I was missing from my life alone was not company, was a structure, was having a routine and habits and things that I could be doing, because I wasn't doing things that made me happy. I wasn't giving that city the chance to show me what it has to offer. I was just in this mindset of, I'm not gonna live here, I'm not gonna stay here forever, I'm just passing by. I don't have to learn about the city. I don't have to explore the city. I'm just here to study. And that's basically the mindset that I had before the pandemic, basically throughout the first year of university. Why did I thought it was a good idea to film a video at like 12 p.m? So during summer, I realized that I wasn't doing things that made me happy, because again, I didn't want to get attached to that city, and because of that, I felt lonely, even if I was surrounded by people, even if I spent the weekends with my friends from university. I kept feeling lonely. Once I realized that, I created routines and little habits. For example, going on walks on Sunday morning, going to see a movie alone. But of course, 2021 was a weird one. We were constantly in and out of lockdowns, and I couldn't really follow this routine and having these new habits, because I was spending basically 2 weeks here at home in lockdown and 2 weeks there. It was a very chaotic period because I didn't know where I would be in the next week. So I spent basically end of 2020 and I guess until September 2021 trying to find some type of stability that I was missing because of all these lockdowns and new restriction. I was feeling unstable because my life was unstable. I thought about dropping out of university so many times during the summer. One of the very few things that kind of kept me going was the life that I know was waiting for me. I knew that once I was back in that city, I would have a routine. My life would stabilize. I knew that it was just a matter of months until I was able to, I guess, have my life back. So last year of university started, the whole COVID situation kind of flared out. I moved back at my place. I started following my routines and having my little habits once again. I felt good. I was doing a lot of things alone, but for the first time in 2 years, I wasn't lonely. I wasn't feeling lonely. And again, yes, I was spending time with my friends from uni. We would hang out during the weekends and even like during the week, but sometimes they were busy and they weren't available. And you know, if I wanted to go to see a movie, I was going to go and see a movie because that's what I wanted to do, even if I was alone. But I was okay with that because I wasn't feeling lonely. Thinking back at that time, I feel like that was one of the best period of my life. Not counting university was amazing. I felt so independent and grown up, and I felt like I had my life together. Like I knew what I was doing and I loved what I was doing. But again, university was there. So I graduated and I decided to move back home because I thought that it was the right thing to do. I wanted to be as far away as possible from university. But the thing is that once I moved back here, I thought, hey, I can have the life that I had back in 2019 before moving. I can have that life again. I was wrong because it's been 3 years. My friends are still working. Some of them are still studying, are still in university. The life that I had at 19 can't be the same life that I should live at 22. So I felt lost because once again, I didn't really have a grip on life. It was, I guess, comforting to have people around me. I became so accustomed to having people offering me to do things for me or with me that sometimes I didn't realize that I was losing my independence, and it became difficult to say no to those offers. I was in my comfort zone. I wasn't living in my comfort zone, but my independence was every day a little bit further away from me, and I felt trapped in a cage that I've built for myself, striving to get away from this cage that I felt every day getting smaller and smaller. This went on for a couple of months until February when I went to Milan to see my best friend. And once I came back, I realized that I wasn't living my life. I was sitting there letting life happen. I felt lonely and alone. I didn't like how I was feeling. I didn't like the life that I was doing. I didn't like what I was doing. So I had to navigate through a bit of changes during that time. And around the end of winter, beginning of spring, I decided to take my life back. And I started thinking about my life when I was living alone. And I was like, okay, what things made me happy back then? Let's create, I guess, a new routine, new habits. I kind of started doing things alone without feeling lonely. It took a while, but I'm there. Of course, if I want to do something, I ask my friends if they want to join me. If they're busy or they're not interested, I do whatever that thing was alone because I'm in a place where I'm like okay with that. I guess like the main thing that brought me to this place is the thought, I guess the fear of missing out from the past, because I've seen so many opportunities and so many events passed me by. I'm no longer okay with that. If I want to do something, I'm gonna do it with someone or without anyone. And I have so much fun doing things by myself right now. What do you mean? I get to drive around listening to my favorite songs and go to the beach, lay under the sun, reading a book that I bought from a bookstore that I went by myself. Like, I get to live a life that I'm happy with, even if I'm by myself, I'm alone. This opportunity that I have of living my life, I've gained my independence back. I feel in charge of my own life. Does this mean that I never get lonely? Of course not. Of course I do. I'm only human, and as a human being, we are built to feel the whole spectrum of emotions, the good and the bad. But now I don't feel lonely anymore, or I don't feel alone anymore, because as cheesy as it might sound, I have myself. I'm not alone because I have myself. And if I don't like spending time with myself, well, that's a bit of a problem, because I'm the only person who's gonna be with me until the end of my days. It might be a long time, so if I don't like myself, I'm gonna be miserable, and I don't really want that. And with that, that's it for this week's video. It was something that I wanted to share. And I feel like this kind of fear of facing things and facing life alone kind of puts us in a position where we crave someone else. We feel like we need someone else with us constantly. And if we don't have someone with us, we simply don't do what we want, which, please don't do that. Do you want to go to that show and none of your friends are willing to come with you? Go alone. Do you want to travel across Europe and none of your friends wants to? Do it alone. I know it's scary. It's gonna be worth it. Hope you enjoyed, and now go out and start doing things that make you happy. Hope to see you again, and thanks for being here, and bye.